Okay, I am on my phone, this time recording, and just wanted to test out a different method of painting. Right now I'm just going to mix this in and then I'm going to scratch into it. Yeah, just making sure I was doing the marking and not outside. I also put a different needle in this, so. Okay, let's see. Before I screw this one up, what I'm trying, is I know another friend of mine, Eddie Waters, I don't know how he says his name. It's irrelevant. I was looking at a few of his pictures, and it seems to me he'll take his gray and he'll mist in the gray. Alright, and it looks like what he's doing is he goes in and mists that gray all over almost everything, especially in the spots that coincide with the darker shadowy areas. He could be doing a little burnt umber in there too, but his one tiger he did look like it was all gray, grayish black. He even went real dark on the value, and I thought I would try going in like that and then scratch in my fur and then go in with my color. Obviously, it being very accurate with, and this way putting almost the whole fur layer. Let's see if we can get a lot more definition into the fur that way. I mean, there's all different methods we can do. It's what works for us as artists is what's important. Just because I say I do something one way doesn't mean you have to do it. Unless you find it works for you. Right. Let's zoom in a little bit on that. Moving this camera is a lot different. What I'm hoping is yeah, see, it focuses on my hand. Now I could even take this. Let me put a new X-Acto blade in. That one that I had in there was so dull. This is the number 11 X-Acto blade, the straight edge. I've watched Steve Driscoll. He likes to use the curved edge blade most of the time, but then again he's working on canvas. He was working on canvas with Comart. See now, and Eddie will just, that just scratches so easily with the new blade. The other one was super dull. Now I gotta remember, I don't want to go too sharp and focused. You can see how easily this fresh blade scratches in to that clayboard. Now this is longer fur over here. And you know, I truthfully, what I think I'll do is go back to this, because like I said, it's generally out of focus in here, and I want to keep my central image the sharpest. So, and I'll use that blade, or I'll use that scratch knife I was showing you in the other video. Yeah. And this is what it looks like he's doing. Now he may go even darker behind this. Okay, I'm gonna, ooh, that just obliterates my light source. I could turn my board and readjust my camera. It's a more comfortable position for painting. I kind of like the let's see, this comes all the way out, and this is going into the ear, so this is getting real soft and bushy out here. And then this fur in the ear is longer. Then what I'm doing is I'm letting the brush split apart a little bit in spots to give me extra lines for the fur. Now this kind of comes you can see a little bit of where my brush strokes from putting that on there were. All right. And this let's see, this comes further in with this. And then this comes like this direction. Trying to keep my hand off the board, because if I rub too hard with my knuckles, I can rub paint off. That's how easy it is for this clay board to be scratched into. See right here, I got that. There we go. This is all longer for following that pattern. This coming around and then start sweeping down. should be like that. Going into there. Now in the black itself, there's not a lot of details in it, but I can pull a few individual hairs through it where the light is bouncing on the black marking. And also there's a few little brown hairs that are coming off of that. Now, I'm going to go back with my brush and get up here. Oh, I'm not seeing my markings right. Okay, that's that one. This is this one. So there's darker up in here. That's a little darker. There's just a couple little spots in here. Yeah, I put the newer needle in there just so I could have. I sharpened the other needle, so I still have it. I'm not going to get rid of it. It worked really well. I just wanted to see if on this needle I got any better finer line. I think what I need to do is I think I need to get some of that rubbing compound like I was talking about in the other video and polish that other needle a little better. I think the sharpen air is just a little aggressive. You see how I'm taking the edge, right, and intensifying these where they come out. Not getting rid of the white marks that I made. And I do have the brush at an angle. I'm hoping you can see all this. So hard when I don't have the screen in front of me that I can take a gander at. I gotta stop and look backwards. This is just Payne's Gray, this is not black. Just deepening some of the shadow areas in there. Okay, let's paint's a little bit thin. I don't know if I should probably. It's not breaking. And what I mean by breaking is if you thin the paint too much with water, you'll get a grainy look to your paint as it sprays. It's not at that point. Yeah, I don't see too much difference between using the needle that I did with the sharpen air and this brand new needle. It seems to be working about the same. Alright, let's come in here and just put a few little shadows into this area. And it'll be mostly the color on top afterwards. There's not a lot of dark grays popping through on this area. See, now truthfully, this marking right here, this is supposed to be higher up. So I extended this marking a little too far down, or I put this one a little too high up. Because it's right. No, that's right. That's right. I got it right. I did not screw that up. Let's see. Now I can go back in. Just work on this. It's easier to work on the other side, being right-handed. Take it slow. Enjoy the process of this. I used to do everything with the airbrush, and I really, well, you gotta be awesome with that airbrush. You should be able to control everything with that airbrush and make these details. That kind of sucked. I don't like how that scratched. It's such an odd direction my hands flow moving. Let's try it with the scratch brush one. Yeah, that's a little easier. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm making random marks. I'm not keeping everything in perfect directions. Oh yeah, much easier than trying to use that blade tip on this side. Okay. Now I gotta soften a few of these. I think I'm liking this better than the X-Acto blade, truthfully. Going to have to buy a couple extra tips for this. I don't know how long it's going to last. Happy little tiger eye. Says, I spy lunch. Okay. Now we worked all the way down into here, so this marking kind of pops off a little bit. I gotta Felt like it wasn't scratching very well there. And again, this is still longer fur, and I'm following the direction that fur is going. And you can leave some of that darker color underneath. I'm going to pull in somewhat into this black marking. Even though I didn't do it very dark. Let's intensify that a little more. I'm just blowing with air on that to... Alright, let's also make this paint a little bit thicker. Today it is flowing pretty good. So I'm doing about 1 drop of water to 3 drops of paint. At the moment, I was 3 drops of water to 1 drop of paint, and it's like I need it a wee bit thicker. I just did something I hate. I touched that needle tip into that rubber. Now I know it's rubber, so more likely the I'm pulling pretty darn fine lines. Watch. I don't know if you can see this. That's really nice control on that. Yeah, now I got a little more coverage. I just don't want to hit it too hard, too fast. I want to build up layers on this. And there's a little darker spot up in there. And then down below this, there's a little, I'm pulling dagger strokes over the edges to create some of that texture. That way I don't have to do as much scratching into it. Because then what you'll end up with is a solid line coming down. And it's not like that. The fur is overlapping each other. You don't want that solid line. And you can take and darken that in the middle. And then pull strokes out this way. Right, and then you can mist back over that. Just the center part you're misting over. Letting the overspray fade out into the surrounding areas. A lot of people don't like to do tigers and the big cats only because it's very tedious doing all these markings. I can understand that. Like I said, this marking actually comes down. So I'm going to fudge that in a little bit. We also got more to the brown in there. I'm being real loose because, like I said, I'm going to be pulling the white scratch marks into that area. And then we can come up in here and make this darker. Now this is a little bit shorter fur up here, so we don't need real long strokes. And there's some dark in here. And over here, there's just some spots coming through. Not really a marking, it's just some shadow under the fur. In here there's quite a bit of, I'm just going to mist in some really light loose strokes in there. Darken this all in. Under this eye, it's coming off the bridge of the nose and sweeping out this way. And then it's following that pattern. I don't want to go too far down. Okay, it's as far down as I'm going to paint on that marking for now. Same with this one, I'm just going to carry this down a little more. Now when you're doing these markings and you start going on your dagger strokes, be very cautious and careful that you don't, that's when most people will whack the tip of their needle into the board. My other needle I didn't damage like that. My other needle I was reaching forward to grab my water bottle for reducing the paint, and I had the needle cap off and I bumped it into the edge of the desk. Okay, now back to this scratching. Like I said, this is shorter fur in here. This side, the brown fur pulls over that. And then this side just deciding which one I want to do. This side of the marking, oops, I'm up here, is more blunt, and then you want to come back with the black and pull over like we did up here. And up here this is a little messy looking. I gotta get that a little nicer. It's a little scrappy and sloppy. And we can take a few of these and pull them a little bit neater into here, keeping it uneven. Okie dokie. Just gonna get this marking where I want it. I'm gonna soften some of these. Just trying to make them so they're not such sharp. So I don't want that. Right. And then we will go back. I feel like I've been working on this one marking forever. But sometimes, you know, that's what it is. If you treat the whole painting this way, if you're doing hyper-realism, and that's how you got to do it. See, now you're going in between some of these little white marks. You can fade these a little bit because, all right. Okay, over here. Yeah, there's, and this one comes kind of curling down a little bit. I'm using my fingertip to steady on the edge of the board. The only thing I don't really care for with the tabletop easel is one, I should be sitting up higher, but I don't have a chair to do that with. Two is the tabletop easel, I don't have that freedom of movement because my elbows are bumping the table as I get lower down. But it's still nice, it's convenient for space wise. All right. Now let's go up here. We got a few little spots. I want to go into the colors so bad on this so I can do them both again for you. But I don't want to. Keep jumping back and forth at the moment. And down here, we're getting a little bit of tip dry here because of spraying so little. Yeah, I will be changing back to the other needle, but I'm not gonna do that until after I get this done with the dark here. And then this side, cleaning that tip off, I barely have to touch this trigger. I'm just flexing my fingertip. And you can see how I'm building that up. We got a few little pieces in here. It's gonna look funny at the moment. Those little scratches, they're gonna look out of place. But the reason they're there is there's some of that tan and orange fur popping up in between some of the black. Not a lot, just a little bit. And it's gonna be the same over here. I have to say, old habits do die hard. I've taught myself a certain way of painting this, and I find it a little bit difficult to try to master a different method. I will have to do an entire painting in the style that Eddie uses if I want to master his technique. Then I can take and combine the two and come up with my own technique. After all, we don't want to be all carbon copies of each other. We want to be our own individual artist. Because after all, we all see things differently. Up here has got to be a little better. We all see things a little bit differently through our eyes. I'm not talking about opinions and stuff like that. I'm just talking artistically. Okay, that looks a little better, a little neater up there. Yeah. So if we see it differently in our eyes, you know, you can paint it differently. It's your painting. There's certain tried and true methods that if you're trying to replicate something, that one method will work better over another, but if you're just wanting to do photorealism especially, this is what I'm talking about, I guess. If you're trying to do photorealism, you gotta, there's certain methods that do work better. If you're going for an artistic quality in your painting, something a little, how do I explain this? More individualized in your artwork, where that's your style, that's how you paint it. It'd be like Mickey Harris's painting as opposed to Drew Blair's, and Steve Driscoll's or Kent Lynn as opposed to Uric. Okay, you've got, those guys have distinct styles in the way they paint, and it's not that they're wrong in painting that way. It's just they have different styles. Just like when I was in Orlando, Florida, or not Orlando, before that, Fort Walton Beach, Florida, Mark Rush said my style was similar to some other gentleman that he knew down there. I had a more of a sketchy way of painting than some of his other artists that worked for him down there. And he even said to me, he goes, not that your painting's bad, he goes, actually you're very good. He goes, but you definitely have a particular style to the way you paint. Come along really nice. In here, there's a little frayed area underneath there, and then here and here there's a gray mark. And this is how I work. I will jump back and forth between the scratch brush and the paint over and over until I get to where I like it and want it. Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. Yes, that was Jim Carrey. I don't even know if I'm gonna upload this video yet. I just wanted to do a little more. Try it with my phone. Let's see if I can. This is the other scratch brush. This is like your wire bristle brush that you put on an electric drill. You just gotta, these bristles are so stiff. You gotta be careful because you can dig in that painting too far. can really gouge up that surface. I'm just seeing if I can get a lot of hairs real quick. Yeah, over in here it's not too bad to do this. See the way it's taking that down. See all that clay dust coming off of there. A lot of times you won't really see too much of the scratching until you get a little bit darker paint on there. Just refining this a little more. Now, one thing, as far as my clayboard surface compares, I don't know how many people have watched the Blind Bartimaeus video, but that was done with the other clay, the Kaloan clay, that was a little more granular. And this is the clay that I just got for Christmas. It's the Kaloan fine, super fine powder, it was called, for cosmetic. It's made, they develop it for cosmetic masks for women to cleanse their pores, men, women, whoever uses it. Not trying to be sexist or anything. Say it's women's only. But they, this powder one is much whiter, obviously, and two, way less granular. So it gives you a smoother surface. It's really starting to look furry. Now I can get close to the same effect on illustration board. And the only reason I've kind of went this direction now is not that I don't like the illustration board anymore, but I am not finding the illustration board that I like. The one that I was using, I do have some sheets of it left, and I will be using it up in the future. But that was Crescent illustration board, and it was called airbrush board, and I don't remember the code number. And I found out that that was discontinued, that number. And now all they have is 205 airbrush board. And the 205 airbrush board hot press, from what I saw someone using, just didn't look the same for results. The way it scratched on and erased on. I didn't like the way it looked. It almost like the surface wasn't It's almost like the surface wasn't holding up as well, the scratching and erasing. And it's supposed to be hot press, and it just didn't seem like it from what I saw. I have not ordered any yet, don't even know if I will, since I'm having so much success with the way this clayboard working. The other thing I found discouraging with the illustration board was mainly the thing I found distressing about the illustration board was it has a tendency to warp real easy. Where the MDF boards and the birch plywood, my next one I'm going to be doing on the birch plywood with this clay. I did it with the other clay, now I want to try this clay. With the birch plywood and this board, it does not warp as much. So if I'm gonna just sit this on my mantle and let it sit there, I don't have to worry about it warping. The eagle that I did for my cousin is sitting in my bedroom, and it's got a definite bow to it. It needs to be in a frame, and I just don't have to buy a frame. Plus I'm not keeping the painting. I'm just holding on to it until my cousin can pick it up. You getting bored yet? Well, these are short little hairs, and I gotta follow that pattern. I'm just putting in quite a few at once. There's my little mini beverage fridge going here. And it's not a mini bar, if you're thinking that. Just some people in this house drink a lot of pop. Not me. I gave up pop to help me lose weight. But you can see where I got imperfections in the board in there. And actually, it's probably gonna work okay in here because that's the texture of the fur, the way it's coming out from under that eye. Get higher up on this tip. So that starts to blend together. You just keep scratching and scratching, and I have misted this with a little orangish yellow yesterday to keep track of where the markings were, and I had to use it up that was in my cup. And one day later I can still scratch into it. That's just building down that side. Gonna put a couple lighter hairs up in here where it's coming over the ear. It's a little more wild looking hairs. They go everywhere. they're more directional. Okay. Gonna use my bigger scratch brush up in here, a little, soften these up a little bit. Okay. Now I could actually even get some marks going up this way. And do. This is gonna be misted over with some orange and orange-brown mixture. Okay, let's soften some of this. I gotta redo this marking here anyways. I just putting in the This is just a fast way of getting a bunch in. Same over here. Follow your direction. Like I said, this is softer fur out here, so it really helps it. So it doesn't look like just 10,000 scratches. Okay. As you can see how that's developing, let's move our video a little bit so you get an overall sense of where we're headed. It's amazing when you're up on the painting, it can look almost too messy to me. It's like, oh, I don't like it. I gotta refine this. I gotta make this better. I gotta do this better. And then when you get away from it and you let your eye do the work that it was made to do to blend it in, you see it as a whole. It's like, oh, well, it looks okay. It looks decent. And in here, it's not solid black. There's a lot of little dagger marks. This is where you blend it into that. Let's see, this whole marking actually comes into here. I'm gonna leave some of it. And over here it's kind of spotty. Just kind of wiggling that trigger, making some dots. We're almost out of that black like I was telling you. Well, it's not black. I keep saying black. It's Payne's Gray. I just love the Payne's Gray, for building, because it's transparent, so it continues to build as you spray it. And you can get it almost to a black. And in here, there are just slight shadows of gray and burnt umber. Gotta pull in burnt umber into this area. And then we got this right in the middle of this marking, or this brown area. There's just a little black marking. Paying attention to where there is a couple little spots under here. Another one over here. It almost looks like that. And I'm doing my dagger strokes in the direction this is turning underneath this eye. And I'm not completely saturating it with black. I'm doing it spots. Then I'm going to go in with being this is the focal point of the picture, you definitely want to pay attention to what is going on in here. Then I'm going to get some fur details going here. I'm just using that light little edge of the brush just to get some scratches in here. Push a little bit and you can broaden that out. this on top a little more. Like I said, this is going to end up with brown on top of it. Brown and orange color. So we don't have to be perfect yet, but we want to get it started. Let's see, now I missed over that scratches that I just did in there that are black. That'll give you 3 different layers of that grayish black. Now, how I'm making these marks is I got my air on, I'm starting to move, and then I'm pulling the trigger back. So it's not a dot to start. I am starting larger, and it looks like a dot, only because where it starts under that layer of fur is a little bit rounder. But what you do is you can come back in after and take your scratch brush, take a little of that dot out, and you want to pull some lines through those marks. After all, it's all fur. They're going to stay there, but then you got the fur going through it, so you've got a layer of what's looking like fluffy fur. And then this side you can, I don't like to do too much on this side of the bottom side of a marking, because I'm going to pull dagger strokes with the gray over that, like this. And if I move my whole shoulders, I get less of that wiggly, squiggly end. Following that, you don't want them all the same length. You want some short, some a little longer. Okay. You get the idea. All right, we are out of the gray, so let's go in just real quick. And this is pretty much the same thing I did yesterday. Let's go in with the light yellow. I'm gonna rinse my brush. And like I said, I think I'm gonna put that other needle, save this needle. Put my crown cap on. Rinse that cup real good. I wanted to do a side-by-side comparison to that needle to see how well the sharpener did. Right now I'm back flushing. I know, everybody said, don't back flush. It forces the paint and air back into the trigger, but if you've got your packing bearing snug enough, you don't want it over tight, then you can't move the needle. Take out this needle and put the other one back in. I just wanted to compare it to how well it was performing for sharpening it and then hitting it with the polishing stone, or polishing pad, not stone. All right. sure I got the right needle. It's almost bobbling around in there. Yep, custom micron SB2. That's the brand new needle still. I mean, it feels nice and smooth. I think it did a pretty darn good job. I mean, the only way I could get it smoother is to get a little of that polishing compound. Stick it in my drill and polish it up. But I'm not the most mechanical person, so I fear screwing that up royally. Okay, I'm going to do this is quite a bit yellow. I love this color working on animals, golden ochre. And I love, well, any of the ochre colors. They're so rich. The red ochre is really nice for like red casts. It's when you use the primary reds, it becomes so harsh and it's such a harsh red. Yeah, you gotta tone it down a bit. Where this red ochre, it's awesome for on animals, especially this tiger. All right, I got red ochre in there, golden ochre. I'm gonna put a drop of orange. Yeah, let's do 2 drops. Because I put 4 drops of yellow ochre. Okay. Or golden, I call it yellow. And all I put was the water in there. And I'm gonna throw a little transparent base in there. I don't want to overpower this, I just want to mist on top. Build up that layer, so 1, 2, 5. Give it a good mix. Mix it with the mixing stick. All right. All right. As you can see, that's pretty darn fine lines. Okay, let's see. I gotta follow this pattern, so off of this marking up into there, we got some misting going on here, there, and then this can all be misted. But you know what, I'm gonna have to go over this with some yellow also. This is just a little bit too much red. And this over there. And it's going to need some browns in it too. Down here there's a little bit of white missing through. So it's about where you want it to go. Alright, let's, whoa, I don't know how that happened. Okay, now that we got that color mixed, misted on it. We can go back in. I'm going to use my favorite scratch brush. And we're going to go back in and we're going to make more scratches. I'm going to start up here. Follow this pattern because these go. Okay, that's there. I'm looking in the wrong spot all the time here. On my reference, what I should do. No, I can't do that. This comes up. This is there. This is this, and that is that. Okay, quick. What's that from? Little Mermaid. And the shark went, and the dragon, whoa! And the seagull said, this is this, and that is that. Seagull, seagull, did you go up to the surface? Ariel, how many times do I gotta tell you? Oh, Daddy. See, when I got that darker tone under it, and I'm going to go in with the yellow on top of it. All right, and that's going to keep these lines that I scratched. They're going to be brighter, and then they're going to blend what's underneath. And yes, there is glass shards falling from this, so that's why they make replacement nibs. I don't know how they clean jewelry with the fiberglass. Probably for where they weld together the, or solder together, whatever you call it, for gold and stuff. One of the things I am doing is I'm not following the exact same lines that I scratched in before. I'm kind of mixing it up a bit. Lightly. Without making that darker, you wouldn't see much of this. Same in here. These are really short. They're kind of sticking up a little bit. on this part, I kind of push and drag just a touch, and then I lift it away. Just a little push and drag. You can do a few of the same in here. Then you're going to dust that back over later. Now this in here has got to be softened. That's too abrupt for this area. This is going to be quite misted back with browns right there anyways. And this is getting a little longer. For in here we can use the bigger brush. Okay. I hope you're enjoying this. There's some light reflecting on this marking in there, and it's you can just pick up some of that fur catching on that light. Same in here. See, I like how that you can dance that on the board that easily. Let's do a little soft erasing in here. And soft, I'm not saying soft as in I'm pressing lightly. I'm using the softer eraser. All right, let's take this color and like I said, it's too red, so I'm gonna, or too orange, I don't know. It's easier to go darker later. I don't know what that was. Whoa. Look at that. I didn't even unscrew that, and it's leaking everywhere. All right, let's put some golden ochre back in that. I'm just going to spray that right through. Till I get down to that yellow ochre. Nope, not there yet. Too orange still. There, now we got the yellow. Okay. Really saturating this actually. Let's move this out of the way for the moment, because I needed more yellow up onto this side. And since it's in there, I might as well utilize it. And then up in here. Now in here where I said it was overlapping in some yellowish brown. We're looking good. See all that scratching, and then you go back in and you scratch some more. Just the lighter areas now. And then you'll go and mist that again, pushing back the under part and making these ones yellow, because it's not white. It's not white in these areas. Now I could go in here and take this little brush and just start doing these little areas slow. And there is some spots. There are some spots I do want that, like coming down into here. Oops. That's an oops. I just oopsed. Now in my reference pictures of this tiger, it is not that detailed, except on the nose. But I'm taking a little bit of artist privilege in enhancing it a little bit, so the overall picture is a little bit sharper. I'm gonna be hitting those with yellow. This actually comes down there, and then this one is a little bit more like that. This is the way we make our tiger. Make our tiger, make our tiger. You can tell I got grandchildren. Oh, don't mind me. I've been this way since I was born. Okay. Now, let's just trying to get a lot of layers of, oops. This color in there. And once again, misting a little more. Okay, that gives you even more. Then you could even go in and give yourself some little stronger shots of yellow if you wanted. Be careful you don't whack that tip. I'm talking to myself. I hope you can see this. I hope my shoulder's not in the way. Alright. And down in here you can do this. Over here. Alright, now we're going to take and go brown with this. So I'm going to get my burnt umber and sepia smoke. Take that, what I had left from the other color. Alright. I'm going to put a couple drops of burnt umber. Do like 4 drops of burnt umber there. And 3 drops of sepia smoke. Sepia smoke just deepens it because I'm already fighting against the golden yellow in there. I want this a little more transparent because I don't want real harsh solid lines in there. And then I'm going to add a little water to it. Not a lot. I don't want to break that paint and make it grainy. I want to keep that smoothness to it. And this makes a dark, rich brown. And being that I went transparent, spray it till it's all the way through. And so you don't have to, when you're going darker like that, you don't have to rinse it out. See, now there's that yellow and orange. Now I've got this brownish color. And I'm going to put that in. I don't want to cover up everything. Just deepening and behind. And actually could even go, this comes all the way down to this marking right here. Alright, and now we're going to just take little lines of it and deepen in to make those layers of fur just jump right out. And I am paying attention to these shadowy areas on my reference. I'm not just putting them in willy-nilly. And see how that's given that fur. Now is where what I call detailing the fur. Okay. Now being this is transparent, I've got some of those scratch marks still popping through. So it's not obliterating them. Over here it's, and then under here this is shadowing off, because this is, like I said, this is layering on top of that. So that's shadowing off under certain areas on that marking. And then we gotta come in here, and this has got a lot more, because it's getting a lot deeper and richer in here. And what we could do after this is go in even with more brown and sepia smoke to deepen this in. Pay attention. I don't want to screw this up. My trigger was feeling kind of, yeah, that's not feeling right inside. It's almost like it's grabbing on me. That should be good. I'm going to loosen the finger tension on it. Just a hair. Could be just the way I'm pulling on it. This is what I did on my leopard for this area. Now remember, we had these markings in here. On this one I kind of made them disappear. I gotta reinforce them. So I'm just gonna kind of hit them with this. What's going on in there? It feels funny to me all of a sudden. I don't know if I got paint. I don't think I got paint in that trigger. I hope not. That's a mess. And you gotta clean that out. Okay. That's looking really nice. Just what I wanted. And then in here. can come back up into this area because there are some of these. I didn't put too much of this the other day. And re-emphasize these ones up in here. And there's a couple coming up into there. This will give that fur a lot of fullness. And then back over in here. Try to get my head out of your way. I think I had my head in the way all the time. I hope I didn't. Forgive me if I did. I suck. I suck. Like Jeff Dunham says, you suck. Jeff Papa, you suck. Okay. It's really kicking that up a notch. I'm liking it. I like it. You got to move it. You got to move it. Alright, and that spot. Where it's darker under. And then we got this spot here. Let's get some nice dark ones up in here. Hey man, how did you get crooked? You got all crooked on me. It's getting there. We're getting around to it. Slowly but surely. Yes, you're doing a good job, but stop calling me Shirley. Putting a little bit of texture back in this area. It's too flat. So if you want that ultimate realism, like I was saying, you gotta be willing to get in there, getting down and dirty with your painting. Maybe I should coin that phrase, down and dirty with your painting. You gotta be willing to learn. Take the techniques that I'm showing you. Take the techniques that other people show you. Combine them. Make them your own. Right, we need a little more. Over here on the nose, I can use this same color. Start building up. And because I had that so transparent, it's not getting rid of what's the color underneath. It's blending with it and deepening it. And what I'm aiming for is in between a mark. I don't know if I could get in there. See if I can really get in there and show you what I'm talking about. No, that's gonna go funky on me. It's hard to tell. Now when I put my hand up here, it's probably gonna go blurry. But what I'm doing, let's do it down here. Okay. Right in there. I'm coming, and you can see this little white line here. I'm coming down, and I'm putting just a little bit of brown under that line. Under that line. Under that line. Under that line. And it's giving that little shadow underneath. And some spots are gonna go gray. So I gotta put gray back in the brush. But that's what I'm doing. Okay, you're not seeing where I'm at. Why don't you look where I'm pointing? Okay. Now in here, this is a little browner. So let's mist this. Same with on the top edge of that. And right there. Right there. And I got some right. Going a little bit looser over in here because I want my focus to be just a hair off. Okay. Whoa. What is going on there? There we go. Because I changed my light spot. Well, that's all I'm going to record on this. I got a little more details in there I got to do with the gray and reinforce some of those markings. But I thought I'd make a little more section of this fur and let you watch and see how the quality of this foam, there I go again, touching that, compares. So, okay, God bless, enjoy, and I hope I've taught you something that you can use in making the big cats. Have a good day.